I love violence. Shooters, survival horror, fighting games, arcadey racers, anything that activates that thirst for carnage neurons I've had in my brain since I was a kid. Fast, aggressive, visceral combat that's almost animalistic in design. Games that reward you for indulging in your primal instincts. Hotline Miami, Bloodborne, Last of Us, Mortal Kombat, Dead Space, No More Heroes, God of War, Doom. Anything unflinchingly raw and violent. The gorier, the better. I also like to play dress up in Splatoon. I'm a man of many tastes, so it should come to no surprise that I've always been a big fan of Rockstar's 2012 noir epic, Max Payne 3. Yes, Rockstar, you know, of house building fame. Max Payne 3 was the end of an era for Rockstar, as it marks the last yearly title they would make before GTA 5, the game that will never die. This is how many games Rockstar released from 2003 to 2012. And this is how many games they released from 2013 to 2022. Yeah, just stew on that one for a minute. May 15th, 2012. After nearly a decade, the final act of the trilogy fans have been waiting for has finally arrived. Diablo 3. I rushed to GameStop after school to pick up Max Payne, only to find out everyone I know is talking about Diablo all week. Nobody cared about my favorite drunk bald man. I tried to talk up the extreme violence, cutting-edge shooting mechanics, the amazing story, and how it was the most M-rated game I've ever played and was by far the most maturely made game I've ever seen. More on that idea later. But they just wouldn't listen to me. I bought my friend the game and he never played it. I let another friend borrow the game and he never even gave it back. All they cared about was playing a game that didn't even work. Diablo this, Diablo that. How about you Diablo these nuts? Just look at this, dude. Oh my god, it's so sick, I love it. Gritty, tight-knit, ultra-violent gameplay. Dude, I've loved it as a kid, I loved it as a teen, I certainly love it now. At a time where the most popular games were often the most violent, and the overall trend of the games industry was to focus more on edgy teen culture, Max Payne stands as the most violent and aggressive out of the vast majority of games out during that time. The game has a dynamic engine that uses a combination of animation and physics to have the enemies and environment react as realistically as possible when they get shot at. A slow motion camera feature that will dynamically cut and zoom onto enemies you just shot so you can really feel when their pain is at their max. And it has, honest to God, the tightest shooting I've ever felt in a video game, period. Between the exotic locale, cluttered level design that asks you to thread the needle with your shots, and a dedicated slow-mo dive button, the game is the perfect tactical gun-fu simulator. Burnt out old man who must save the day but he's too old and too burnt out to do it right and it's violent as fuck has got to be my favorite genre of anything. Max Payne is a washed-up, alcoholic, and pharmacy pill-addicted ex-cop who has been hired to protect an ultra-rich family in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Doesn't go very well. I won't spoil the major story beats of the game per se, but I am going to just talk about the game's themes, ideas, and emotions, so I guess this is your spoiler warning, but don't worry if you haven't played it. I've never actually played the first two games, so it's all good. Oh my god, first he doesn't upload any more Splatoon videos, and now he doesn't even play the games he's talking about? Unbelievable. I'm done. What starts as an easy gig drinking scotch and guarding a rich family in their skyscraper penthouse quickly turns into an alcohol-infused descent into just how violent and depraved humanity can be. We start the game at the highest point in the city, with Max being the most comfortable he will ever be in Sao Paulo, and with only one handgun. But then we'll travel into the deepest, grimiest pits of the city that will push Max to his absolute limit. But then he'll get two handguns and have one big long gun. Look at that, you can't put away your long gun, you only carry it with one hand. So if you switch to akimbo handguns, you have to drop your long gun. Do I even need to explain how cool that is? Max drinks, gets sad, and feels the maximum amount of pain. Then Max shoots, gets mad, and inflicts the maximum amount of pain. It's called Max Payne 3 because he's named Max Payne.
Max fucking Payne.
He feels Max Payne, inflicts Max Payne, and he can hold 3 guns. Max is sad and mopey because of the death of his family. So of course, like anyone, he goes to Brazil with the first person to buy him a drink so he can restart his life. But of course it ends up with more dead women at his feet and a bloody trail of destruction.
Like all the lunches in my life, it began with the death of a woman.
Max really is a good guy, a little grumpy, but a well-intentioned man nonetheless. However, he is a professional fumbler. Max is constantly screwing up every single attempt at any heroic act he tries. Getting the drop on bad guys, failing to save who he bodyguards. Even when Max is saying his suave, noir dialogue with his sick After Effects transitions, the next scene usually shows him getting drunk and falling over. Max Payne is a good man, but he is a failure. A loser who, despite trying really hard, screws up way more often than he succeeds. And those are his words, not mine.
At least I fucking tried.
At the game's core, it's just about a man who's trying to do the right thing. The game dwells on Max's past failures, his inability to get over them, and how he repeats said failures over and over again in the course of the game's 14 chapters. Max traveled across the planet for an easy gig and an escape from his own vices that were eating away at him, but all he found was a trail of human flesh and another bottom of another bottle, both figuratively and literally. You gun down an arcade gallery of bad guys. Max monologues about how sad and messed up the situation is. Then you gun down another comically large amount of incoming bad guys. Rinse and repeat. There's a couple of turret sections, a sniper mission, some tiny moments of cool slow down action sequences, but that's essentially the entire gameplay loop. Max shoots his way through a plethora of unique environments around Sao Paulo and New Jersey, but the bulk of the game takes place in the more seedy, poverty-stricken areas of both cities. When you take a step back and look at how the game focuses on a New Jersey resident shooting up all of Brazil, it can kind of look a little, maybe a little questionable. That's basically the whole story and gameplay, so yeah. The game really can be summed up as an American going to a foreign country and shooting a lot of people. Bad people, they're bad guys, yes, no question about that. Except that guy, apparently. The game constantly throws it in your and Max's face about this idea of an American coming out of nowhere and causing so much destruction in a foreign land.
The great American savior of the poor.
That's right.
And then the game goes, yeah, it's bad, isn't it? And it just continues to do that anyway. I know this is the fun video game YouTube channel, haha, woo, but I just bear with me for a minute. I know this is a little intense for my wheelhouse, but just hear me out, just hear me out. It's difficult to have an in-depth and thoughtful comment about the socioeconomic and racial issues the game brings up when you have to play a video game as well. You can have the characters question Max and ask the question of the ethics and morality of a great American savior of the poor. But if you don't fully delve into that idea and you only bring it up to go, geez man, this is kind of messed up, huh? And say nothing else about it, what's even the point? Is that really a mature way to handle a mature topic? You can have ultra-realistic violence, cutting-edge graphics, nudity, drugs, alcohol, every cuss word in the book, classism, racism in your art, story, game, whatever, but does that actually make your work mature? Or does that just have topics that can only be in an M-rated game? When Resident Evil 5 was released in 2009, it was criticized harshly for its depiction of the white savior concept. So it makes me wonder if the dev team for Max Payne saw that and wanted to have a more nuanced take on the topic of a third-person shooter where an American goes to a foreign country to kill thousands of people. But like, saying that out loud at face value doesn't paint a very good picture, no matter how deep the commentary you want to tell may be. Also, quick side note, there's like 5 levels in the game that are direct ideas ripped straight from the original Modern Warfare 2, which also came out in 2009. You know, the No Russian game? Just look at this sniper, dude. Come on, that's 100% a Captain Price reference. I can't help but feel maybe these two titles inspired Max Payne 3's core identity in some fashion. Now, the interesting angle to all this is that Max himself doesn't know the answer to these questions. Max is used and manipulated by his boss, his friends, politicians, gang members, police, mercenaries, and even himself to a degree. And all these people and groups are trying to one-up and manipulate each other to try and sick the great American savior of the poor onto each other. It's weaponized ignorance.
That's right.
Max and the player spend the entire game manipulated by a complex system of socioeconomic disparity and classism to shoot as many people as possible in a language they most likely don't understand. Max certainly doesn't. I don't speak your fucking language! And at the end of the game, Max himself understands his actions most likely won't result in any actual real change, but at least his actions are so extreme that the people who wronged him and the innocent will either be dead or in jail. The game doesn't linger on the issues of Sao Paulo or the violence and horde acts that are inflicted upon the innocent. Max doesn't understand the big picture, the player isn't supposed to understand the big picture, and the big picture of the game is never actually truly explained, at least not directly. Max goes from one shooting gallery to the next with the understanding that something is indeed deeply wrong with what's happening, but he just doesn't get it. So the theme of ignorance and how much damage it can cause to yourself and others is very present throughout the game, just like how I played it as a kid. I ignorantly moved from gameplay section to gameplay section, not fully understanding the story at play. I just wanted to kill, baby, yeah, kill, more violence, more. When I was in middle school playing the game back in 2012, I thought it was the best written game I've ever played, but I didn't get it. I saw the depravity and the violence as a lens for mature storytelling and quality, and now that I'm a decade older with a writing degree, is this game really the pinnacle of storytelling? Is its use of ignorance as a storytelling device one that is effective enough to excuse the lack of explanation the game provides? Maybe? Probably not, but that doesn't mean it's bad by any means. In some ways, the game is brilliant. So much attention to detail in the combat environments, having each object explode in different ways when they're shot, having Max drenched in sweat over the course of a level, the dialogue, the use of ignorance and miscommunication as themes, all very smart. But in some ways, the game's kinda dumb. Plot points that are messy and nonsensical. Remember that New York mob boss who swears vengeance on Max Payne, and then he never comes back into the story in any way, shape, or form? Yeah, me neither. A cartoonish amount of enemies coming out of the woodwork in each level, characters acting dumb for the sake of drama and progression. There's like 5 freaking cutscenes of Passos just walking across a room that you just cleared out of bad guys. Why does that need to be a cutscene? Why are you stopping me from going across the room? What's the point? Some animator at Rockstar probably spent like a week to animate this. Why? Maximum Painage 3 tackles complex themes and hardcore ideas, but never delves too far into them. But that may be the point. It uses them as a vehicle for more shooting. Is a fat, bald American guy shooting his way through Brazil really a good depiction of understanding the differences between countries? No, but the gameplay's really fun. And maybe that's the point. Max is ignorant, doesn't speak your language, and only knows how to use violence to communicate. And the game assumes the player is ignorant, doesn't speak the language, and wants the player to use violence to communicate. And to a degree, isn't that why we play video games anyway? To not think about the big picture of life and indulge ourselves in a bit of innocent, primal fun? Maybe the game is saying all this, maybe it's not saying anything at all. That's kind of the point of Max Payne 3 in my opinion. Max never knows what's going on or what it's all about, so maybe the player isn't supposed to fully know what it's all about. Should we critique the game to the same degree as Resident Evil 5? Does the game being self-aware of its white savior trope excuse its use of it? Is it even something to critique? Is the game truly a mature, nuanced experience about the dangers of ignorance, or is it one that is actually immature in its depiction of complex ideas? It's not like the game totes itself as a groundbreaking narrative that pushes the medium forward. The game came out after the controversy of Resi 5 and Modern Warfare 2 in 2009. 2 games that used aggressively violent segments and ideas to promote their stories, but still focused on arcadey action over emotional narrative. But 3 Guns 3 was released a year before BioShock Infinite and Last of Us. 2 games that still used aggressive violence and themes of racial inequality, but wanted to highlight their emotional narrative maturity over their simplistic gameplay. Their success can be debated, but they tried and marketed that they tried to be profound games. So sitting right in the middle of these 2 extremes, was Maxi Boy over here trying to be the more traditional arcade shooter, or was it trying to break narrative ground? Or was it trying to balance both extremes at the same time? Much like Max himself, I understand these ideas and I see them at play, but I'm just not sure myself what the answer is. The game is really fun, but I don't know what it's trying to say. I would argue though that a reliance on stereotypes isn't necessarily a positive way to depict cultures.
Crazy?
But when those stereotypes are affecting everyone, Max Payne included, does that mean it's a more morally acceptable demonstration? I just don't know, nor do I know if these questions are really what the game wants you to think about. Here's a monologue about the complexities of classism and cultural and racial disparity. Now here's a sick fucking slow-mo kill cam. Here's the reality of being a washed up ex-cop in a cutthroat world that will break you down and spit you out. Now shoot up this police station. The writers of the game want you to know and acknowledge human suffering and just how messed up it is to massacre thousands of Brazilians, but then the game goes into painstaking detail and depth to make shooting Brazilians as fun as possible. I can't put this in the video, oh my god. I'm putting it in anyway. The dialogue writing is very good, but the overall story beats are a little hard to accept given all the questions they raise and then don't answer or even think about. The game wants to be mature and raw, but it's hard to make a shooting gallery feel fully authentic. The game explores ignorance as a theme, but is that an excuse for ignorance in design? It's really just ludonarrative dissonance and all that garbage, you know the drill. Something, Nathan Drake kills a lot of people for being a good guy, etc. If you're here watching this, you've probably heard the term before. Alright, this video has gotten way too serious and just a smidge repetitive, so now it's time for the level and drip tier list. Every level Max Payne is dressed up in a different Max drip for whatever violent shooting occasion he's going to be in. So let's rate his outfits and the overall levels themselves. Told you I like to play dress up. Chapter 1, Max shoots up a penthouse. Standard tutorial stuff, a little too short. Levels mainly just introduction cutscenes. Max wears a pretty standard, boring gray suit, but the last segment of the level he does become wet paint and gets to show off those fancy 7th gen graphics. Honestly, the worst level in the game. D tier. Chapter 2. Max shoots up a nightclub. Starts strong but overstays its welcome. Cut the helicopter section in half and add more shootouts in the nightclub and it'd be much better. Max switched from a boring gray suit to a boring light gray suit. My man needs to learn how to accessorize. C. Chapter 3. Max shoots up a football stadium. This level drags on way too long, and there's a lot of cutscenes that add zero value to their overall level. But there's lots of variety in the gameplay locations. The sniper section is solid, and switching enemy factions midway is really cool. Max has that key art drip with a yellow button up, shot shoulder, and a pistol holster. He looking good. But there is a Passos walking cutscene, so it only gets a B. 4. Max shoots up a New Jersey flashback. Lots of location variety. The New Jersey goons are fun to fight, and it feels like the old games, I assume. There's wacky Bomberman, and Max has got the iconic Trenchy with a hot leopard print tie. But there goes Passos walking again, so it's only a B tier. Do I really want to make the Max shoots up a place joke 14 times? It's already pretty immature and kind of dark, so do I really want to keep repeating that? 5. Max shoots up a harbor. I don't know why, but this one always feels like a slog. Shooting sections are serviceable and fun, especially the docks part. Very cool. But the turret section goes on for way too long, and his drip is like kinda tactical, but it's middle-aged man trying too hard to be tactical. So overall, it just gets a C. That's the end of Act 1. Solid C. Start of the game is honestly the lowest in both terms of drip and in level variety. 6. Office shoots up Max. Seeing all the office supplies and glass shoot through the air is just euphoric, dude. Pure bliss. Paired with the mini-boss and a cinematic burning building segment, along with some foreshadowing for the final level of the game, we eating good with this one, boys. Max does wear the same gray suit as he did in the first 2 levels, but instead of wearing slacks, we got business casual jeans on now, and it just fits so much better. Enemies get a drip upgrade wearing body armor and Kevlar, and that increases the difficulty as well. Easy A tier. 7. Takedown. Roach, take the shot! This is the level people know the game for, baby. Max first day sober, and it's filled with intricate level design that turns every single corner into a potential danger, working his way from the bottom of the favela up to the top as he laments just how out of control his life has gotten. Not to mention his immaculate drip. Oh my god, my boy finally learned to accessorize. Max wants to look like a typical American tourist so he can get mugged. So this is the outfit he picks? He dresses like an arrogant middle-aged tourist on purpose so he can get caught by the gangs he's looking for in the first place? But he is an arrogant middle-aged tourist, both ironically and unironically. So he dresses the part on purpose, but he also is the part without meaning to be. It's so stupid, it's actually genius. He's gonna get away! No, he's not. S rank. 8. Gangsters shoot up Max Payne. Yeah, Max is wearing the same thing as the previous flashback level, but it's still solid. But you know why this level is so good? Just look how it starts. He's taking cover behind the tombstone of his dead wife and daughter with his own name and the emotion he's feeling labeled directly above him. The rest of the level is fantastic too, don't get me wrong, but just this single isolated moment is haunting and tragically beautiful. S rank. 9. The cops shoot up the favela? A continuation of the previous favela level, but now Max is escaping the police raid of the favela he previously shot up. Great introduction to the final enemy faction, good contrast to the previous level, and easily some of the most gruesome moments in the game. It's not as good as the second favela level in Modern Warfare 2 about escaping a favela from an overwhelming force, but I'd say it's on par with the first Modern Warfare 2 level about entering the favela and looking for bad guys. Remember kids, every game I talk about I will relate to Call of Duty somehow. Just wait until I do my Call of Duty and Super Monkey Ball video. Gonna be a good one. The drip is the same as before, but now it's just a little bit more sweaty and gross. Look at that realistic back sweat, baby. S rank. 10. Max busses up a shoot depot. It's fine, drags on way too long. The lady you have to escort kind of Mr. Magoo's her way in and out of situations, and it's just really silly. The bus section is fun, I guess, but it's nothing too crazy. Sweaty, overworked tank top khakis Max looks cool, but it's a little too much sweaty skin for this guy. B. And that's the end of Act 2. Massive sweat improvement over Act 1. Overall, hard A tier. 11. Boat maxes up canal shoot. Great location variety. Boat to canal to museum is fun, fast, and intense. Cool zipline segment, and you get a deagle and an automatic shotgun. Wicked. Fresh shaved black button-up khakis is the best looking non-bald Payne outfit. Max Payne, more like Zaddy Payne. Hey, you can unsubscribe for that one. It's okay, I understand. I would do the same thing if I were you. A tier. 12. Meat Hotel. That's all I wrote for this one in my notes. Just Meat Hotel. This is like the most important story mission in the game, and I Meat Hotel. And saying that is absolutely horrid in context. Oh my god.
You're turning humans into glue.
This video's way too long. Oh my god. Great American Savior of Meat Hotel. B tier. 13. The Max Favelas up the cops? Longest level in the game with the most intense shootouts and tightest spaces. Hardest enemies, diverse and complex encounters, white button-up, black tie. Max is tearing down the police force and symbolically tearing down his former life in it. Absolute S tier. I'm a firm believer that the finale of your art should capture everything it stands for and be its best moment. The airport finale is without a doubt the best level in the game and the defining segment of the title. Beginning with a conveyor belt ride with a deagle and ending with a car chase down the runway. The airport symbolizes the rampage, high-octane action, and pure, overwhelming masculinity Max Payne 3 is all about. With nothing to lose or gain, Max goes through each tightly designed segment as a force of nature, ripping through the heavily armed cops with nothing but a bloody button-up and dress shoes. Not to mention Health's amazing song they placed during the height of the level. The only song with lyrics in the game, giving the player goosebumps as they are pushed to the limit of the game's mechanics and the peak of the game's narrative tension. It's honestly fitting a game at the very end of the 7th generation of consoles, and stuck in between game design industry trends, ends on effectively a shooting montage with sick music, just like old shooter montages that came out around that time. It's truly poetic. Editor Jacob, why don't you play a bit of the song for us? What? That's not the song. That's not the song. Stop the music. That's a dead meme. Why are you playing this? Stop. Seriously, this isn't the song. Stop. S+ tier. Right in between Steve and Pyra and going straight into the Great Game Moments playlist. Okay, the tier list added like 7 minutes to this thing. So let's wrap this up. I gotta start working on the Monkey of Duty video. Max Payne is a dumb, washed out, drunk, middle-aged American trying to navigate the complex world of classism, racial disparity, politics, and ethics. He's a destroyed man who's trying everything in his power to understand a world that might be beyond saving. I first played this game when I was a dumb, greasy, edgy, pretentious teenage American trying to navigate the complex world of high school. The issue here is, I can't tell if I was the game's target audience or if I was way too young for it. Max was trying to understand the web of depravity he's caught in, and I was trying to understand the game and what it was trying to tell me. The creators of the game were trying to balance the line between game and cinematic storytelling, and the game industry was trying to understand how to deliver a mature experience. It's a game that's stuck between a cinematic story and arcadey gameplay. I mean, like, the game is literally split into 2 different game modes, a story mode and an arcade mode. One wants to show a world of maturity, while the other just wants to be a video game you play for fun. It's a title released between eras of gaming, between eras of Rockstar, and between eras of my own life. It's one that's often overlooked as just another gritty, bleak cover shooter from the 7th generation of gaming, but honestly, I think it's the quintessential shooter of that era of gaming. Right smack dab in the middle of a turning point for game design maturity and a new console generation. It's a game I love with all of my heart. The whole reason I made this video is to share my love for an underappreciated game that helped shape my adolescent preteen years and represents a period in time I love so dearly. I did my best to promote Max Payne 3 to my friends, to get them to play it for just a minute, to see something a little different, letting them borrow the game to see the gray, gross underbelly of video game storytelling, and to get them away from Diablo 3 for just a minute, guys, come on. So, if you're watching this, David, give me back my goddamn copy of Max Payne 3, I swear to God, otherwise you'll walk with a limp!